Welcome back to Daily Dose. My name is Robert. I'm here with my pal Tom, who is from Pepper Pong, and we've been talking about all things Shark Tank, addiction, the hero's journey, how to get it out there. And now people are going to say, well, how do I get this? Well, I'll put the link number one in there so people can go to the website to get it. But you're doing a lot in the field to go see people, to test it and all that. What's that been like for you, the kind of touch points and being out in the community, and where might people see you?
Yeah, we're doing some of that. Although I'd say post Shark Tank, we've been quite busy just dealing, and then with tariffs and whatnot, there's been a lot of desk
Oh,
work to be done.
yeah.
So we've been navigating a lot of uncertainties, and then
Right.
we've gotten major inquiries by retailers, and we're trying to vet out all of these different opportunities that have been presented to us, and so we generally what I've done and what I said on Shark Tank, and part of the reason I sort of told Damon that probably wasn't a great fit is that we're in this for the bigger purpose of what we're trying to do, and we're unlike a lot of e-commerce companies in that way who are just trying to get to the most profit as fast as they can. We really have a story to tell,
Right.
and that story is connection, and using our game as isolation's kryptonite, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is fend off that phone a little bit more than we are these days, and get people up on their feet or sitting down and just hitting the ball back and forth. And connection also, it also applies to the connection that we want to have with our players. And so as soon as you sell the game outside of your own website, in most cases, you don't have a way to contact the buyer, and you can't
Right.
bring them into the Pepper Pong family the way that we want to bring them into the family. And so we've held off on mass distribution and kept it more of a boutique game, despite the fact that we're selling a lot of them. And so we're a very small business. We're basically zero employees. We've got a very virtual kind of setup here, and so we've got, I guess we've got the flexibility to kind of build this in the way that we want to build it. We're not beholden to investors or a huge base of employees or whatnot.
Well, and like you said, you've got a partner in Todd who seems to understand all of that, and he is willing to and happy to, it sounds like, work with you to grow the way you want to grow. Because they talk a lot about that on the tank, about people who just sometimes go light speed and they haven't figured out the foundation of who or what they're doing, and sometimes more sales don't end up being a good thing even.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can make a lot of mistakes, without even knowing you're making a mistake because of the inventory and different distribution channels, and you can kind of get a little, your wires crossed, and so we've been very cognizant of that. And so right now we just sell directly on our website, which is pepperpong.com. So
There
just
it
go
is.
to
And again, it'll be in the
pepperpong.com.
description. Yep, everyone will see that, and we'll make sure to put that out there. I want to ask you about, because I love your focus on relationship. This is a specific thing. Have you heard of, well, we talked about the Parkinson's connection, and I think you mentioned you don't like have a particular affiliation at this point with anybody in the Parkinson's,
I
or
don't. I don't. But it's something I want to learn more about. I want to use our game to the extent that we can to help people. And so yeah, I'm a student of learning.
well, that's my invitation, I guess, is to say, I mean, this is my work passionately for 20 plus years. I know the community and the play, and I want to introduce you further up the chain, because there's research too that suggests ping pong is already a big deal. And I'll give you an example. The World Parkinson's Congress, which they run every 3 years or so, is this huge event, right? I mean, thousands of people from around the world come and descend upon to talk about all the things that they're trying to do to, ultimately, we're trying to cure the disease first and foremost, but to come together and share community in amazing, beautiful ways. I went to my first one in Barcelona back in 2022, and it was astounding. Just the community was incredible. Coming up next year is the next one, and it is in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a stateside one, which is really easy to get to. So something to think about, not putting any pressure on you, but I'd love to have you there. I want to talk to you about that, because they're going to have ping pong again. They had a whole ping pong room. You fit in that realm, and with the new studies that have been done since then, I just, because the challenges like you bring up marketing wise, ping pong great, but the table not so great. what if we can make it more accessible? And again, I'm happy to bring all of my research and usage, within the community. So I wanted to put that out there to you just to say, I'd love to have you there with me.
No, that'd be great. And I've read a lot about the benefits of ping pong. And in fact, when we were launching Pepper Pong in Albuquerque, a hand doctor came up to me and said, "Hey, I would like to introduce this for motor skill, for injury recovery, and for various patients." And what I find about ping pong is it's great, but I think actually Pepper Pong is far more applicable in that realm because of the pace. And you can start off with that, with the jalapeno pepper, which moves a lot slower. The other thing is it doesn't make that noise. There's no noise associated with pepper pong, and so it's just, you don't disrupt people nearby or get annoyed by it.
Well, and you know what? I'll give you a fun yes and to that for people who like the noise. One of the major issues in Parkinson's is speech. That, in other words, the atrophy of the vocal muscles cause the number one problem with Parkinson's in terms of mortality, which is asphyxiation and pneumonia. So we have some wonderful programs, the Parkinson Voice Project and the Lee Silverman Voice Therapy Project. But just in what you were saying, I said, it'd be fun is to have people play and, for the Parkinson's aspect, so Pong, Pong. One goes pepper, one goes Pong. So they're speaking with intent, and they're getting a vocal workout and a neural. Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be
Pepper,
great.
Pong, pepper, Pong.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well,
We could
hey,
do that.
any role that you think I can play or the game, can play in supporting people with the disease, I'm all for it. So
Super. Well, let's have you back for one more episode. I got one more big question for you, and it also has to do with the peppers themselves because I'm a green chili fiend, and so you're in New Mexico, is that right?
Denver,
You're in. Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. Are you a Denver Broncos fan by chance?
I am.
Oh God, we have more in common than we thought. Okay. Anyway, yeah, we'll be back in a minute with the next episode.
Sounds good.